Call the Honourable Sue Kedgley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call Sue Kedgley. I promoted you.
Happy to be honourable.
The Honourable Member Sue Kedgley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, the stars were aligned for an historic, once-in-a-generation law change that would reduce our heavy drinking culture and the damage that alcohol is causing our society. We had this highly acclaimed Law Commission report promising a comprehensive package of reforms, overwhelming public support for those reforms and cross-party support in this Parliament for those reforms. But the government has blown this once-in-a-generation opportunity to tackle this huge and damaging social problem because it doesn't have the political courage to stand up to the liquor industry or the advertising, hospitality, food and grocery industries. It has blown this opportunity because it has chosen to put the vested interests of those industries ahead of the health and well-being of New Zealanders. It is as simple as that, and that is why the question that Mr Anderton was asking, has money been donated by those industries to the National Party, is such a relevant issue. Instead, the government has come up with a bill that is doomed to fail because it fails to address the key drivers of alcohol abuse, the extraordinarily cheap price of alcohol and the saturation marketing and advertising of alcohol, and also, of course, fails to tackle the crucial issue of increasing the blood alcohol limit. Mr Speaker, we live in an alcohol-saturated society. Alcohol is absurdly cheap. It's available round the clock, 7 days a week, in almost every dairy and supermarket in the land. Liquor outlets have doubled over the past decade. There are 14,500 of them, many clustered in low-income areas, and we are subjected to saturation marketing and advertising of liquor everywhere we turn. And harmful drinking has become so commonplace that it's seen as something that is inevitable and somehow normal. So it's unfortunate that this bill will do little, if anything, to change our heavy drinking culture or to reduce the problems related to binge drinking, crime, traffic accidents, date rape and domestic violence. This is a tragedy. As Doug Selman pointed out yesterday, he said this bill fails to implement every substantial measure that would actually reduce the excessive drinking culture. The government appears determined to maintain the status quo. Low prices, high accessibility, unrelenting advertising and drunk driving are a perfect recipe for maintaining the heavy drinking culture. Or as the Professor Jenny O'Connor from Otago University put it, the measures proposed in this bill are like fighting a bushfire with a couple of garden hoses for the next 20 years. Now, while refusing to act in these important areas, the bill overreacts in other areas. It includes heavy-handed provisions which give the police excessive, unnecessary and draconian powers to arrest people without a warrant, provisions which infringe on the basic civil and political rights of our democracy, such as the right against arbitrary arrest, the right to a presumption of innocence. Mr Speaker, we can reduce the harm of alcohol without trampling on the Bill of Rights. These are terrible provisions and we will fight to get rid of them. Another general concern with the bill is that it targets young people in a politically expedient way when 92% of heavy drinkers are 20 and over. It is too easy, too simplistic to divert the debate into a debate about the drinking age when the problems of binge drinking affect every single age group in New Zealand. Now, in diluting the Law Commission's reforms to the point where they won't be effective, the government, as others have pointed out, is completely out of step with public opinion, which has shifted dramatically in the past year, and people are clamouring for a tougher regime. They are marching in the streets for a tougher regime. They have had huge support for the Law Commission's reforms and almost universal condemnation for for the government's decision to rule out any price increase or increase the blood alcohol limit. Mr. Speaker, it's recognised around the world that probably the most effective way of discouraging teenage drinking is to make alcohol more expensive. And this, of course, is particularly the case in New Zealand, where we have alcohol being sold in supermarkets in a predatory fashion at ridiculously low, below-cost prices to lure people, particularly young people, into the door. Now, the government has acknowledged that putting up the price of tobacco has been an incredibly powerful tool in reducing smoking. Tariana Turia says raising the price of alcohols has provided a strong incentive for smokers to quit. It has helped to dissuade young people from ever starting to smoke. So why on earth do the same arguments not apply to liquor? Mr. Speaker, it's also blindingly obvious that alcohol advertising should be treated exactly the same way as tobacco advertising. Alcohol advertising, it glamorises, it normalises alcohol, it acts as a powerful recruiter of young drinkers, it links the rites of passage for young people to the consumption of alcohol, and it creates enormous peer pressure to drink. I know this because I have a 20-year-old son. While alcohol sponsorship of sports, clubs, rock concerts and other events, it embeds brands and products into the lives of young people. And yet we have 90%, we know that 90% of 5 to 17-year-olds see at least one television alcohol advertisement every week. And international research shows that this predisposes them to drinking well before they are 18. So if the government is serious about stopping young people from drinking, this is the very first issue that it should tackle. Its refusal to do so, no doubt because of the pressure from advertisers and the powerful liquor industry, seriously weakens this bill and the impact it will have. Mr. Speaker, the Green Party has serious concerns about draconian provisions in this bill, which will allow police to arrest a person in a liquor ban area without a warrant if they merely suspect, they are carrying alcohol. The bill also gives police powers to demand, under threat of arrest, that people they suspect may be breaking a liquor ban give them the name, address and whereabouts of any other person connected in any way with the alleged offence. Now, no reasons are given as to why these arbitrary powers have been sneaked into the bill. The Minister says they're there because the police wants them. Well, of course the police would like to arrest people without a warrant, but the fact is that these provisions breach civil and political rights that are fundamental in our democracy. Freedom from arbitrary arrest and presumption of innocence. We take these rights for granted at our peril, and it is our job as MPs to uphold these rights on behalf of all New Zealanders. We can put in place protections against harm caused to our communities by alcohol, but we shouldn't use this bill as an excuse to sneak in additional police powers, draconian police powers, and the Green Party will fight to get rid of these incursions of police powers over our fundamental freedoms. There are other serious flaws in this bill. It exempts the police, fire service, defence force bars from liquor licensing requirements. It exempts casinos from having to comply with licensing hours, which will have the perverse effect of encouraging people in Auckland and Christchurch to head down to a casino when bars are closed to gamble as well as to drink. Mr. Speaker, the Green Party will support this bill to select committee because it does contain provisions we support, such as giving communities a say on liquor licensing provisions, allowing local councils to develop alcohol policies and control trading hours, and have more say over whether to grant any further liquor licence. But we will be vigorously opposing police provisions in the bill, and we will be putting forward many amendments to remove the many flaws in this bill and to extend its provisions around crucial issues such as the price and marketing of alcohol. Thank you very much.